All right, today we are jumping headfirst into the work of Erich Fromm. We're going to talk about some of the biggest, most fundamental conflicts of just being a person. You know, those deep, nagging puzzles about our lives that, as we'll see, we might not be able to solve at all.
I mean, you've probably asked yourself this, right? Why does life feel so complicated, so full of contradictions? It's a universal question. And Fromm had this really fascinating answer that all starts with where we fit into the grand scheme of things, both in history and in nature itself.
So, to really get what Fromm is talking about, we have to begin with his most basic idea. He believed that you can't really understand any single person, you, me, anyone, without first understanding the entire human story, all the way back to the beginning. And this, right here, completely changes the game for psychology. For Fromm, it wasn't nearly enough to just look at someone's personal life or their childhood. He was saying, no, to understand anyone, you first need this much bigger, almost philosophical concept of what it even means to be human.
And that brings us to the absolute core of his whole theory. He called it the human dilemma. And the basic idea is that somewhere, way back in our evolution, we got torn away from our connection to the natural world. And that one separation, well, that's where all our problems really begin. Think about it like this. Other animals, they have these powerful built-in instincts to guide them through life. But us, we got reason instead. We can think, we can plan, and this is the most important part, we are aware of ourselves. We know that we are separate, isolated individuals. And that single piece of awareness, it changes everything. So here's the massive paradox of being human. Our ability to reason is without a doubt our greatest gift. It's our superpower. It lets us build cities and create art and survive in almost any environment. But it's also our heaviest curse, because that same brain forces us to stare down these huge, terrifying questions about our own existence, questions that, frankly, have no easy answers. Fromm actually gave these unwinnable conflicts a name: existential dichotomies. They're dichotomies because they're these fundamental, clashing contradictions. And they're existential because they are literally baked into what it means to exist as a human. We can't solve them. We can only react to them. So what are they? What are these core conflicts that basically define our lives? Well, first up, you've got the big one, the most fundamental conflict of them all. It's the simple, brutal clash between being alive and knowing, for a fact, that one day you won't be. So our rational minds are powerful enough to grasp our own mortality. We know that we're going to die, and yet every fiber of our being kind of screams against that reality. So what do? We create these elaborate stories about an afterlife, or we try to build legacies and monuments, anything to try and deny this one fact that our own reason tells us is absolutely certain. Okay, so that first conflict then spells right into a second one that's just as powerful. It's the paradox of our own potential. Think of it as the huge, endless ocean of who we could become versus the tiny little thimble of time we actually have to do it in. I mean, we can all imagine it, can't we? The idea of becoming a fully realized person, learning every language, reading every book, mastering every skill. We can picture that goal perfectly. But at the exact same moment, we are painfully, acutely aware that life is just way too short. There is no way we can ever reach that ideal. Fromm himself put it perfectly. He said, "Only if the lifespan of the individual were identical with that of mankind could we ever really get there." In other words, to truly reach our full potential as a species, we'd have to live for as long as the species exists. And since we can't do that, we each just get to be one single fleeting moment in this giant story that we'll never ever see the end of. And that brings us to the third and final core conflict, and this one is maybe the most personal of all. It's that constant nagging tension between being an individual and our desperate, fundamental need for other people. I mean, let's be real. At the end of the day, we are totally alone inside our own minds. No one else can ever truly know what it feels like to be you. That's our reality. And yet, we can't stand that isolation. Our happiness, maybe even our sanity, completely depends on finding ways to bridge that gap and connect with others. Fromm nails it with this quote: "People are ultimately alone, yet we cannot tolerate isolation. It's like we're caught between a rock and a hard place, the rock of our own individuality and the hard place of our deep need for community." So let's just quickly put it all together. We have these three inescapable conflicts. 1. we know we're going to die. 2, we can imagine becoming perfect, but we don't have enough time. And 3, we are fundamentally alone, but we can't stand being alone. See how they all weave together? That, for Fromm, is the human condition.
Now, here's the most important part. Fromm's point isn't to make us all depressed. Actually, it's the opposite. It's meant to be freeing. These conflicts aren't your personal failings. They're not puzzles you're supposed to solve. They are just the rules of the game of being human. And the only real choice we have is how we decide to play. Which really leaves us with this final, massive question to think about. If these conflicts are just part of the deal, if we can't ever escape them, then how do we build a good and meaningful life, not in spite of them, but because of them? How do we find meaning right in the middle of the puzzle?